What's up guys? Today we're going to talk about the top 10 trumpet players in jazz. We really want to thank all of our Patreons who generously donate as little as $1 a month to keep this channel going. There are many added perks, so check out the link below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to get notified about future videos. We also want to hear from you, so drop a comment about a video subject that you'd like to see us do. I'm really excited today to talk about the top 10 trumpet players in jazz. This was really hard to narrow down, and I easily could have made this list 20 names. As we all know, jazz started in New Orleans. Louis Armstrong said the first great jazz trumpet player was Buddy Bolden. Unfortunately, there are no recordings of him, but if Louis said so, it's true. Jazz started as a collective music, with a front line consisting of trumpet, clarinet, and trombone. But as the music progressed, it developed into more of a soloistic centered music. So the trumpet players on this list were really the great soloists. The trumpet is such a powerful instrument that it was not only the sound of New Orleans collective improvisation, but really defined the sound of the big band. The early big bands only had 2 trumpets, but as the music progressed, standard big band instrumentation had up to 5 trumpets. All of these players on this list really cut their teeth in big bands. Blending and competing with 3 or 4 other trumpet players on stage was a big way these trumpet players learned. Many of them were classically trained as well. This list that I put together is not subjective at all, and if anyone disagrees with me, they're flat out wrong. Okay, let's get to the list. Coming in at number 10 for top 10 trumpet players in jazz, we have Lee Morgan. Morgan was one of the most prominent hard bop trumpeters in the 1960s. He gained prominence for his playing on John Coltrane's album Blue Train at only 19 years old and performed in Art Blakey's Jazz Messengers for several years. As a band leader, Morgan's song The Sidewinder became a huge hit on the pop and R&B charts in 1964. Lee Morgan continued to work prolifically as both a leader and a sideman with the likes of Hank Mobley and Wayne Shorter, becoming a cornerstone of the Blue Note label. Morgan's life was cut short at the age of 33 when his girlfriend Helen shot him following a dispute. Coming in at number 9 for top 10 trumpet players in jazz, we have Freddie Hubbard. At the age of 20, Hubbard moved to New York and began playing with Sonny Rollins, J.J. Johnson, McCoy Tyner, and John Coltrane. He replaced Lee Morgan in Art Blakey's Jazz Messengers. He began to develop his own sound, distancing himself from the early influences such as Clifford Brown. During the 1960s, he recorded 8 studio albums as a bandleader and more than 24 as a sideman, including Oliver Nelson's The Blues and the Abstract Truth, Eric Dolphy's Out to Lunch, and Herbie Hancock's Maiden Voyage. Hubbard's unmistakable tone and virtuosity influenced just about every trumpet player after him. Coming in at number 8 for top 10 trumpet players in jazz, we have Fats Navarro. Fats was a pioneer of the pure bebop style in the 1940s. After touring with some territory bands, Navarro settled in New York City, where his career took off. He began to perform with J.J. Johnson, Charlie Parker, Bud Powell, Tad Dameron, and Coleman Hawkins. Fats developed a heroin addiction, tuberculosis, and a weight problem, and subsequently died at the age of 26. Although his recording discography is limited, his legacy stands firm as one of the few true giants of bebop music. Coming in at number 7 for top 10 trumpet players in jazz, we have Kenny Dorham. Writer Gary Giddens said that Kenny Dorham's name has become virtually synonymous with underrated. Doram was one of the most active bebop trumpeters ever, as well as a singer and composer. He played in the bands of Lionel Hampton, Billy Eckstine, Dizzy Gillespie, Mercer Ellington, Charlie Parker, and Art Blakey, and recorded with Thelonious Monk, Sonny Rollins, and Max Roach. In addition to sideman work, Doram led his own groups, notably with saxophonist Joe Henderson. Throughout the 60s, he recorded frequently with Jackie McLean, Cedar Walton, and Milt Jackson. Coming in at number 6 for top 10 trumpet players in jazz, we have Clifford Brown. Although he only left us with 4 years of recordings before dying at the age of 25 from a car accident, Clifford Brown remains one of the most influential trumpet players of all time. Brown was heavily influenced by Fats Navarro. His articulations and precision at very fast tempos and expressive ballad playing made him feared by most all other trumpet players. He recorded with Art Blakey before forming his own group with Max Roach. The Clifford Brown and Max Roach Quintet featuring Sonny Rollins was the pinnacle of hard bop inventive style. Sonny Rollins said, "Clifford was a profound influence on my personal life. He showed me that it was possible to live a good, clean life and still be a good jazz musician." Coming in at number 5 for top 10 trumpet players in jazz, we have Miles Davis. Miles is among the most influential and acclaimed figures in the history of 20th century music. He adopted a variety of musical directions in a 5-decade career that kept him at the forefront of many major stylistic developments in jazz. He made his professional debut as a member of Charlie Parker's quintet in 1944. 4 years later, he recorded the Birth of the Cool sessions, which were instrumental to the development of cool jazz. Along with saxophonist John Coltrane, Miles recorded the album Round About Midnight, which has become a historic example of the post-bebop style. Miles also helped define modal jazz, frequently collaborating with the arranger Gil Evans, culminating with his album Kind of Blue, which remains the biggest selling jazz album of all time. In the 1960s, Davis formed a new quintet with a more modern sound, featuring pianist Herbie Hancock. And the next decade, he experimented with rock, funk, African rhythms, and new electric music technology. This period was the most controversial in his career, alienating and challenging many in jazz. He continued to perform sold-out concerts worldwide while branching out into the visual arts, film, and television. Coming in at number 4 for top trumpet players in jazz, we have Bix Beiderbecke. Bix was one of the most influential jazz soloists of the 1920s, with an inventive, sophisticated lyrical approach and purity of tone. Along with saxophonist Frankie Trumbauer, Bix was able to achieve the feeling of hot jazz with a cool sensibility. His solos on Singin' the Blues and I'm Comin' Virginia have become absolute classics. In a Mist is the best known of Bix Beiderbecke's piano compositions, which reflect both jazz and classical impressionist influences. His understated, cool style contrasts with Armstrong's Fire, which is similar to a Lester Young-Coleman Hawkins comparison. Tragically, Bix died at the age of 28 due to alcoholism. Coming in at number 3 for top 10 trumpet players in jazz, we have Roy Eldridge. Roy was nicknamed Little Jazz for his tiny stature, but his playing was anything but. His sophisticated use of harmony, tritone substitutions, and virtuosic technique and range exhibited a departure from the dominant New Orleans trumpet style. His strong impact on Dizzy Gillespie mark him as one of the most influential musicians of the swing era and precursor to bebop. He was a featured soloist in the bands of Fletcher Henderson, Gene Krupa, Artie Shaw, Benny Goodman, Ella Fitzgerald, Count Basie, and had a very strong musical relationship with Coleman Hawkins. Roy had a command of the stage similar to Armstrong as a vocalist and a true entertainer. Coming in at number 2 for top 10 trumpet players in jazz, we have Dizzy Gillespie. Gillespie is the epitome of a trumpet virtuoso improviser. He built on the style of Roy Eldridge, adding layers of harmonic and rhythmic complexity previously unheard in jazz. His combination of musicianship, showmanship, humor, and wit made him a leading popularizer of the new music called bebop. His beret and horn-rimmed spectacles, his scat singing, his bent horn, pouched cheeks, and his light-hearted personality provided some of bebop's most prominent symbols. Along with Charlie Parker, Gillespie invented bebop music. He taught and influenced many other musicians, including Miles Davis, Fats Navarro, Clifford Brown, Lee Morgan, and Tad Dameron. Coming in at number 1 for top trumpet players in jazz, we have Louis Armstrong. Armstrong is without a doubt the most influential figure in jazz. His career spanned 5 decades, and he's credited for single-handedly shifting the focus of the music from collective improvisation to solo performance. He got his first big break joining the Chicago band of his mentor, Joe King Oliver, and soon relocated to New York to join Fletcher Henderson's band. With his instantly recognizable rich, gravelly voice, Armstrong was the inventor of scat singing. He's renowned for his charismatic stage presence and became one of the first American jazz ambassadors, traveling the world with his small group. Louis was one of the first popular African-American entertainers to cross over to wide popularity with white and international audiences, appearing in major motion pictures alongside Bing Crosby, Grace Kelly, and Frank Sinatra. So that's the list, guys. I hope you enjoyed. The history of the jazz trumpet is so rich, and there's so much to learn, and distilling it into 10 figures was quite a task. All these players have such distinct styles, and although they influenced each other, each one is extremely recognizable. That's what's so great about jazz music, and I'm certainly going to do round 2, so please let me know your ideas in the comments. Thanks again so much to our Patreons who donate as little as $1 a month to keep this channel going. Check out the link below to find out all the perks for being a Patreon. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell because we have lots more videos coming out. Alright, I'm going to go back to practicing.